What up, y'all? So I figure why not do the funniest types? This is one I've been wanting to do for a while. Just hadn't had time to get around to it, but finally I do. This is gonna be an interesting one. I think it's a good topic, like to talk about. Like, who is the funniest out of all 16 types? Who are the funniest? If you want to find out, stay tuned. Um, but anyways, let's get started. All right. So what we got right here, we got a list. This is a different tier list that I was using before. Excuse me, than I was using before. We got S, A, B, D, B, C, and D. There's no E or F this time. I think. This is one I just chose. Random one I chose. I didn't make this myself, but I think that'll make it a little bit simpler. And then of course we got the 16 type down at the bottom. So who is the funniest? All right, so let's start with ENFJ. Okay, ENFJs. I feel like they have a ton of potential. They can be funny. Now their motives for being funny will be like FE motives. Like they'll be like, if an ENFJ is funny, they'll do it just to make everybody feel good around them and keep the morale good and stuff like that. Now I don't know, like they can kind of be serious too. ENFJs can be quite serious as well, but they can also be funny. This depends on the ENFJ. But for as far as if them being the funniest, I say they can go A or B tier as far as that, because I think they have potential to be pretty funny if they want to be. A lot of ENFJs I know are pretty serious people, although I wouldn't call them serious people, but they're not necessarily the jokey joke type. But it just depends. I think they can go maybe A or B tier. Let's say B tier for right now. Maybe I change my mind. So I'm gonna put them at the top of B tier for right now. Okay, ENFP. The ENFPs are naturally funny because of that lead in E. So their style of humor is they kind of do self-depreciating jokes a lot. They make fun of themselves quite a lot, and they're good at making fun of themselves typically. So yeah, ENFPs are funny. Like they can laugh at their own pain. Like they have a way of making a joke out of their pain, and they can use it to make other people laugh and stuff like that. But yeah, to them, that's a way that they deal with harmful things. I think they make jokes out of them. A lot of ENFPs can fall into that. Then that FI, they can use that FI to kind of fuel that making a laugh at their own pain type of thing. That's just their style of humor. But as far as them being the funny, since they have NE as the dominant function, they're going to go S tier. They're not number one, but they're up there for sure. ENFPs, but some of the funniest people. Okay, ENTJs are kind of they are kind of serious in a way because of lead TE, but ENTJs are pretty funny. It's pretty common for you to find an ENTJ. There are a lot of ENTJ comedians as well. Now, yeah, like funny ENTJs that are more on the funny side, they can be mistaken as ENTPs because ENTPs look goofy and funny. They're what people think of as the funny type. But there are quite a lot of ENTJ comedians and things like that. They can be pretty funny. Like they can tell funny stories and stuff like that. It's like when they tell stories and they want to tell a funny story. Um, they will just I don't know, they leave a lot of details out, but they exaggerate things, and it's kind of funny. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I say ENTJ. Let's say they go A tier. I say they'll go A tier. Okay, ENTPs. Okay, ENTPs. They are by far the funniest out of probably the 16. It kind of sucks that they're going so early, but I'll tell you right now, they are funny. Like I say, they go S tier. Matter of fact, yeah, they're S tier for sure. But the thing about ENTPs that makes them so funny, they got that lead in the any extrovert intuition makes it so easy for somebody to be funny because they just will have endless like joke ideas and endless ways to spin things and make a comedic expression out of it. Extrovert intuition is great for that. That's a perfect function for it. But we'll go number one at the top of S tier for ENTPs, for sure. The thing is, they're funnier than ENFP. ENFPs are up there too. They can get more for their money, but the thing I feel like ENTPs are funnier because they will have less of a filter because they're not fillers. I think having a filling function can make you have a little bit more of a filter for your jokes. So ENTPs are more likely to want to make jokes a little bit edgier. So I think that gives them more of an edge on being funnier because they're willing to make those risky jokes, and they're not as quite as afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. Even though ENTPs have a way of delivering their jokes, even like, let's say somebody else make a joke about it, they probably offend everybody, but they can make up jokes about topics that are touchy topics, but they know how to maneuver. You know what I'm saying? And um, it'll be so fun that people won't care, type of thing. But I mean, that doesn't always work because people still get offended anyway. But let's just say that, yeah, that gives them an edge. Being a thinker, it gives them a little bit of an edge on the type of jokes they'll go for. So many things are not quite as off limits. But anyways, ESFJs, you'd be surprised. ESFJs are actually kind of funny. They're funny people. I think they're a little bit funnier than ENFJs maybe, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not quite sure, but I think they're pretty funny. Um, ESFJs are kind of similar as far as being funny. They do it to just kind of keep everybody in a good mood, type of thing, kind of emotional harmony type of thing that they do. But they can be pretty funny, believe it or not. They got that tertiary NE too. So I would say they're a little funnier than ENFJs because I got that tertiary NE. So I put them up there. Now, I wouldn't say that makes them less serious than ENFJ. They're both equally as serious people, which means like ENFJs actually are a little more serious than ESFJs, though, I think. But I guess it might depend on which ENFJ you're talking about. But yeah, moving on. ESFPs. Okay, ESFPs are funny as hell. They don't take life seriously. They kind of look at life as like, I almost want to say, yeah, I want to say they don't really take life too seriously. Now, I feel like a mature ESFP, they will take life a little more seriously, but ESFPs in general just kind of just want to have a good time. Now, that can involve being funny. If an ESFP chooses to be funny, every ESFP I've known has been funny at some point in their life, but they get to a point sometime where they don't care as much about being funny and they want to, want to tone it down a little bit. But ESFPs are funny, like when they want to be. There's quite a lot of ESFP comedians. Now, I say most comedians, if you want to talk about like what type makes up most comedians, you're gonna say ENTP. ENTP definitely does make up most of the comedians. ENFPs make quite a lot of them. There's quite a lot of ENTJ ones too, but there's also a lot of ESFP comedians as well. They're up there too. But yeah, but it's simply because ESFPs, the reason why ESFPs are funny is because ESFPs are like, out of all the types, they're natural entertainers. Um, so that can involve them trying to, being funny too. You know what I'm saying? Now, they're not quite as funny as an ENTP or an ENFP though. ENFPs and ENTPs are like literally, they're the best comedians in general, but ESFPs are funny, but they're not quite up there but I still say they're S tier for sure. ESTJs. ESTJs are surprisingly funny, actually. They got the tertiary NE, but they don't come off as people that want to be funny necessarily. They come off very serious, but that tertiary NE can make them be funny. They'll be funny without trying. Let's put it like that. Like they could be just venting or being like brutally harsh, and they'll be funny. But I want to say they're probably C tier, just because they're not the type of people that's gonna try to be funny, but they can be funny though. It's more like a surprisingly funny type thing, though. So I say C. ESTPs, another type that can be really funny. Now they're up there. ESTPs are funny. Now my dad was an ESTP, and he had a natural comedic. I say he had a natural talent for comedy. A lot of people used to say that he could be a comedian and stuff like that, which is true. There are quite a lot of. Hey, watch out, buddy. I got this kid in there. He'd be hopping up. I don't want him pushing on the computer. But I'll say ESTPs are pretty funny. They're up there. You want to talk about, they're some of the top funniest types. Let's put it like that. Now, I'm trying to think what will hold them back. They're not number one, though, but they're up there for sure. There are quite a lot of ESTP comedians as well. Now, they also, it's very similar to the ESFP. Now, I will say, though, they're a little bit funnier. They may be a little bit funnier than ESFP, though. Because like I said, with the filling function thing, that makes more things off limits as far as jokes. ESTPs, not quite as many things going to be off limits. Maybe they're a little bit funny, but it's really close. It's really hard to say which one is funnier for sure. But I'd say they're a tiny bit funnier than ESFPs. I put them above them. Okay, INFJs. Now, INFJs, they can be pretty funny actually when you get to know them. They're not the type of people necessarily that's going to be out there with their sense of humor, I don't think. But they are actually funny because they have these ideas and stuff like that as their NI that can be really funny and sort of out there. You get to know them, they can be pretty funny. Now, I don't think necessarily they're the people that's going to come in to try to tell all the jokes, but they can be funny. I think they're a little bit funnier than ENFJs, honestly. From my experience, I could be wrong about that, but I haven't thought about. Maybe I need to go back and observe that. But I think they're a little bit funnier than ENFJs. ENFJs and INFJs, they both do kind of have a stick up their ass type of vibe, like. But yeah, they kind of got a vibe where it's like they just need to let loose. It's like me as an extroverted sensor, I'm always kind of wanting to tell them like, man, just relax, let loose a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Stop worrying so much, But yeah, I think INFJ is a little funnier than ENFJs in my opinion. INFP. So INFPs, they can be quite funny. Now, I've heard Dave Chappelle is my favorite comedian, but I've heard them typed as INFP. Now, I didn't do that type myself, but I do agree with it. INFPs can be quite funny. They have the NE. They might not be as out with their jokes. Watch out now, buddy. They're not there quite as out there with their jokes, but if they try to be funny, they can be funny if they want to be. Let's put it like that. Like this, the NE just gives you endless ideas of jokes. Now, I would say they go A tier because FI as a dominant function, FI can make you quite serious. So it's like a little bit of it balances out the jokey side of them. It can make them quite serious, but I'll say they go A tier. But yeah, because they're FI doms and having it as a dominant function can be quite overpowering. INTJ, similar to the INFJ, to where they have like these weird ideas and stuff like that are funny, and they can have weird ideas and take them and turn them into jokes. So they can be quite. I want to say they're A tier, but maybe on the lower end of the A tier, because of course they do come off like pretty serious, but they are quite funny too. I say they go on the lower side of A tier, maybe even B tier. I might change that later. Okay, INTPs. Similar to the INFP, INTPs are quite funny. Now, they don't necessarily come off as funny right away. They do come off as like, of course, aloof. Don't take quite as many things seriously. They don't take a lot of things. I don't think they take things seriously so much, but then they have that dominant introverted thinking. Introverted thinking is quite a serious function, but it's like a more internal seriousness. In a way, yeah, it's quite a serious function for sure. That can overpower things a lot. So that it's quite a difference between like them and ENTP. ENTP, like ENTPs come off goofy. They don't come off as serious people. You just know they're funny, just like by the way they carry themselves, the way they walk. They know how to embody the tired. As ENTPs are like cartoon characters, pretty much. They don't know, they like to embody the joke. Like they know how to embody being funny so well. INTPs are funny too, but it's more like you have to get to know them. Well, not even that you have to get to know them, because they can be funny right off the bat too. Like if you talk to them, you have to talk to them. I don't think like them walking around, they're pretty quiet, so it's like you probably wouldn't know unless you talk to them, type of thing. But yeah, they're funny. I put them A tier, probably in front of IN. They're probably a little funny. Maybe a little bit funnier than INFPs, but it's really close with that. ISFJ. Now, ISFJs are funny. Don't get people don't realize how funny ISFJs actually are. ISFJs are actually really funny, but I can't put them too high because somebody got to go at D. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't come off as funny people at all. They come off as quite serious. They maybe go C or D, but ISFJs are actually funny as hell because they got that inferior NE, and it can come out in different ways. And it's very similar to the ESFJ, to where they want to be funny to keep everything. They want everybody to feel good around them and stuff like that, so they'll be funny. But maybe they'll go C tier. Somebody got to go down here because I met some ISFJs that are some of the funniest people that you'll know. They're funnier than ESFJs, maybe. They could be some of the funniest people you'll know, actually, but it's like you have to really get to know them, and they have to be comfortable enough around you to show it a lot of times. But I'm not saying it's like that all the time, because some of them do try to come off as funnier. You wouldn't expect it, let's put it like that. They might could go, I don't know. It's hard to put anybody at D tier, honestly. Maybe I'll go back and do it after the fact. ISFP. ISFPs are funny. They kind of similar as far as they just want to enjoy life and stuff like that. Now, ISFPs come off as quite serious people, but they are funny. You know what I'm saying? They have a good sense of humor, very laid back sort of vibe about them, but they can be quite serious because of introverted feeling. Honestly, it's kind of tough to say because there are ISFP comedians. They have extroverted, and main thing that will make them funny is extroverted sense. And I kind of want to put, it's really hard to say for this one. It can really go either way. I'll put them in C for right now. I don't really think of a better place to put them. Maybe I'll go back ahead after I do these two. ICJ, they're going to have to go D tier. Now, ICJs, when you get to know ICJs, they are funny. But you really have to get to know them to see their funny side. They're not really good at getting their jokes off around. Well, they can have their moments where they get their jokes off pretty well, but they're not quite as good as like doing it all the time around people they don't know well. They're quite serious around people they don't know well. Now, they are funny. When you get to know ICJ, they're funny as hell, though. But I'll put them in D tier for sure. My type. Okay. So with this one, my own type. Now, I don't really try to play into being the funny guy necessarily. I can be funny, I think, if I want to be, but I don't really lean into it too much. I spoke about that. But there are ISTPs who are funny as hell that do lean in more into the comedic side of things. There are ISTP comedians. Now, I say the thing about ISTPs, we are funny. We have that dark humor. We can have that edgy sort of dark humor and stuff like that. But it can offend people probably, and it depends on the ICP, but yeah, it can probably offend people, and it can, it's one of those things where it's kind of a out there sort of sense of humor probably, but no, ICPs can be funny for sure. I wouldn't consider myself a funny ICP, but there are plenty of ICPs who are just funny. When I'm funny, when people laugh at things I say, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm like just being brutally honest, and it makes people laugh sometimes. But I'm not like the funny guy. But the ICPs that are funny, they are some of the funniest people. They can be some of the funniest people you'll know. I've heard people say that they think ICPs are funny as hell. I say we might go B or C. B. I say B because I'm not. Yeah, let's say B. But yeah, let's looking back. Would I change anything? For right now, honestly, I wouldn't. ISFJ, maybe they can go there, but they're a little funnier than ISTJs, I think. Yeah. ISFP could go a little higher. I'm thinking about even putting them a B because they're about as funny as the ISTP would be, I think. Maybe they can go up there. Probably funnier than the ISTP, actually. But, that goes for right now. My mind could change on some of those, honestly, if I gave it a little more time. But for right now, that's what I got. But anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what y'all want to see from me. More things on the way. Did I leave anything out? I guess not. But anyways, thanks for checking it out.